Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we're actually doing another product review on the channel, and it is a book. This is the second book that we're reviewing, and this is called The Social Structure. This is actually a book that I created years back actually, and I had a chance to kind of really update it a little bit. Now it's not really a high, I wouldn't call it a some kind of really advanced or any kind of kind of really advanced deep writing, whatever the case is. But what it focuses on is your understanding of the social dynamic of the way people kind of operate, mostly in the dating world, or kind of like in the realm of just getting to know people, and how the mechanics of things kind of break down. I'm not going to say that it's perfect. In this review, I'm going to be a little bit neutral. A lot of the thoughts that I had inside this book, they were written from a while back, but most of my views still stay the same, because for the most part, it is things of the world haven't really changed much. I definitely would say check it out. If you can, check out the book, purchase it. I'm going to leave where you can purchase it in the description. You can actually purchase this over in Amazon, and I would really advise check it out, especially if you're one of those people who are not like in that level or in that realm of the social game to understand, like, in terms of talking with the opposite sex, whatever the case is. It's probably a little more geared towards men, but there is aspects about it that are very beneficial towards women, especially them understanding how the men work, and for the men understanding how the women work. And a lot of people, back when I was, I guess you could say, getting a perspective on what people thought about the book, and kind of like passing it around, and getting a sense of what people thought years back. Actually, a lot of people seem to be that people who had a problem with it seem to be that these views reflected their life, and a lot of the people who were from the sidelines of it, that were not benefiting in life, or maybe having troubles, they viewed it like, all this stuff makes sense, and seeing that is very interesting. So just reading the back off here. Looking to have better understanding of why things happen in your social surroundings? Do you drive yourself mad asking yourself questions about the opposite sex you cannot seem to find the answers to? This book might be able to help with that. It answers some of the questions we ask ourselves in social settings we find ourselves in as part of our everyday lives. So essentially, like I said, it's a lot of scenarios that we sometimes run into. I'm going to run through some of the chapter the content real quick. Prelude is just introducing you to things. Flavor dives into this idea of breaking down how you view people, and how we group them in our mind. It's actually very interesting. I use food as an analogy, but essentially, say if you met somebody when you were young, and they have this certain look to them, you might later on in life, regardless of race, ethnicity, or whatever the case is, or the way that people look, if they have some traits that look similar to like that person. We'll say you knew someone and their name was Samantha, or for the women their name was Jim. You might see later on in your mind, you attribute them to say, hey, this is that Samantha type, or for the women to be like, that's that Jim type. In your mind, that's kind of what we do. We try to label things, and it's interesting. Who has the power? Breaks down the power dynamic with people in terms of men and women and whatnot. So the chapter Who Has the Power really kind of breaks down the power dynamic of women and men in areas, and it doesn't really cover to say all areas, but just giving that understanding that where in some towns, in some cities, where women might have more power, in certain other places men might have more power, and it helps you try to understand that, so you can say, well, this is a very big world, and as you get older, you start having the ability to travel, even if it's just from state to state, and you realize that maybe for you, one of the options is going to a different place. Something as simple as that can change your entire dynamic. And sometimes we get caught up in our own area, because we get a little lazy, not wanting to travel places. But once you realize that it might change your entire life, you start realizing maybe driving an hour away, or even like going to another state, taking a plane, going to another state, you might find that you have a better power balance in those other places. Into the Bad starts kind of diving into how, women, might be into the quote unquote like bad boy. I'm just gonna run through some of the chapters as I go through the pages here, and it kind of really breaks down a little bit on the dynamic of what do people actually go after, but also like a percentage on what actually is, because sometimes too, a lot of us don't really know, may not, or don't really know why things go wrong, and we kind of realize after the fact that it's because of what we're into, not realizing what we're into, and what we're into might actually be bad. What defines bad. Then this kind of goes into something where I think is a pretty interesting topic of discussion, where a lot of the traits that you can see here, a lot of the traits, you can pause and just look at those quick traits. A lot of traits that we think are positive things are positive to a degree, but at the same time too, when you have those in men, tend to be traits that are made for mass mating. And so you have to just say to yourself, is that what you're looking for? Someone who's designed for mass mating, or you're not looking for someone who's designed for mass mating? Are guys dogs? Jumps into that, and answering that question. Why do girls require so much attention? Answering that question for some men. The male period. Answering that question for women who may not understand it. Guys will know it when they read that chapter, what that means. Fantasy complex, and how a lot of people get thrown off by the fact that the movies and this feeling like how things are supposed to go, and some people get caught up in this kind of fantasy concept, hookups, and what that means, and how that affects things, and who's taking advantage of that. The loss of power, diving into what that means. You can read up on that. I'm not really going to go deep into this kind of stuff. The viewpoint of the 9+ guy, that's a very interesting topic that a lot of women will probably end up finding to be an issue of why, or an answer to why a lot of problems happen in their life. And for men, it will be something that guys kind of look at from the sidelines and go, okay, like, so I see that happen all the time because I got friends who fall into that category. Maybe what do I need to try to get into that category, or at least gives you some kind of sense of the workaround things, social settings and pairings, how that works generally speaking in certain social settings, and how people pair, how the dynamic of things work out. The double standard, that's a big one right there, because a lot of times people think that there's a double standard in terms of the dating world, which not realizing that, especially when women say that for men, there's double standard in the dating world in terms of what guys can do and whatever the case is, not realizing that women actually make that standard. And it breaks that down into the fact that, the customer is always right. So whatever, women want is going to be what's right for what they want, and whatever men want is going to be right for what they want, and we can't argue what the other person should want. That is where the disconnection kind of comes from in terms of that. Additional selecting factors just kind of really breaks down different elements in terms of stereotypes and things that affect how people select each other. So that's something that, if you never were aware of that or thought about it, it'd be something that kind of helps you navigate that. Adapting taste. There's another thing too, where it shows how people kind of change their taste based on what they're able to have versus what they want over time. And sorry, pages again. And a conclusion, just pretty much wrapping everything up. So I really would strongly advise for you guys who ever wanted to know some of these kind of small, interesting questions. I'm not saying it covers everything, but it covers a lot in a small, simple package that will really convey to you the mindset of what's going on, since this is how it's been for years. It's still kind of how it is now. And I think it'll really help you just really navigate some simple social situations, and it might really just give you that little leg up that you might need. Like I said, it's beneficial for women and men. It's beneficial for men who might need to learn how certain women are thinking and help them navigate situations, and it's going to be beneficial for women who want to know how men think and how to navigate those situations, or the questions where you wonder why the same mistakes keep happening. Well, maybe if you get into the mind of the opposite sex, you'll kind of have a little bit of understanding of, okay, like, so this is never going to change, so what do I have to change to get around that problem? So if you got any kind of questions, leave them inside the comments. And I'm going to leave the link inside the description for you guys to purchase this book on Amazon. It's not expensive at all. And yeah, check it out, and follow the channel. Any other questions? Like I said, we go over these kind of topics all the time on the channel. And catch you guys in the next video.